Welcome to this explainer on the ancient metropolis of Ephesus. Today, we're going to look way past the weathered stones and piece together the living, breathing, incredibly advanced megacity that stood as an absolute titan of the ancient world. Seriously, if you've ever wanted to truly walk the streets of antiquity and understand how a legendary city functioned on a day-to-day basis, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get started. Okay, let's dive into this. 250,000. Just hold that number in your head for a second. That was the peak population of this sprawling Roman metropolis during its golden age. When you picture Ephesus, I need you to shatter the illusion of a quiet, static archaeological site. Imagine 250,000 people. Merchants shouting in the markets, politicians debating in marble halls, priests performing grand rituals, and citizens just bustling through these massive colonnaded streets. This was a thriving, loud, and brilliantly complex hub of human civilization. To make sense of a city this massive, our agenda is basically going to act as our virtual walking tour map. We'll be covering 1. The ancient metropolis in history's depths, 2. Upper city, administration center, 3. Curate street and social life, 4. Lower city, trade and culture, 5. Sacred areas and surroundings, and finally, 6. Discoveries and invaluable artifacts. We're guiding you spatially, from high up on the mountainside straight down to the harbor, and chronologically through thousands of years. Section 1. The ancient metropolis in history's depths. Before we take our first physical step into the city, we really have to grasp its immense lifespan. Ephesus isn't just one city. It's like a massive layered cake of empires. We see traces from 6000 BC, but the story actually heats up with the Bronze Age capital of Ephesus before it became a super vibrant Ionian colony. It was ruled by the famous Lydian king Croesus and later fell under Persian control. But look right there at 323 BC. This is a pivotal moment. Alexander the Great's commander, Lysimachos, literally picked the city up and moved it away from its heavily silted harbor, establishing the incredible grid-plan city we recognize today. From there, it hit its absolute peak as the dazzling capital of Rome's Asia province. But, well, nature always wins, right? Centuries later, malaria and that relentless river silt forced the remaining population, under the Ottomans, to retreat up to Hagia Solik Hill. Section 2. Upper City, Administration Center. We're starting at the very top, the undisputed zone of power, bureaucracy, and state religion. And this brilliantly illustrates just how deliberate the urban planning of Ephesus actually was. The upper city was essentially the brain. It's where the state agora sat, where up to 2,000 politicians gathered in the Odeon to make laws, and where the eternal flame of Hestia burned without interruption in the Prytaneon. Now contrast that with the lower city, which we'll visit soon. That was the beating, aggressive heart of culture and commerce. But, the upper city wasn't just about civil debate. It held some pretty dark memories, too. As you'd walk past the monumental Palio fountain and the towering Domitian temple, you'd encounter the Memmius monument. This wasn't just a pretty structure. It was built by the grandson of the Roman dictator Sulla to commemorate a horrifying event, the massacre of 80,000 Roman citizens in 86 BC by the Pontus king Mithridates. It adds this incredibly dark, fascinating layer of geopolitical trauma to the otherwise gleaming marble of the upper city. Section 3. Curate street and social life. Leaving state affairs behind, we're now walking down the stunning, marble-paved slopes of the most famous ceremonial avenue in all of Ephesus. What's really interesting here is how grand design was grounded into relatable, everyday engineering. Nestled on the slopes of Bulbuldagi Mountain were the terrace houses, the incredibly opulent homes of the Ephesian aristocracy. And these weren't just fancy stone boxes. They were decorated with the richest mosaics and frescoes imaginable, and get this, they were heated by the hypocaust system. The Romans literally pumped hot air beneath the floors and through the walls. It's ancient central heating, and they enjoyed this exact same luxury up near the State Center and the Various Baths, too. Of course, daily life also meant dealing with, daily necessities. Enter the latrina. For the Romans, public hygiene was a deeply communal, almost entertaining social event. You'd sit here, right over a continuous stream of flowing water, literally chatting with your neighbors about politics or the latest gladiator match. Right next door were the massive Scholastica baths, famously restored by a wealthy Christian woman in the 4th century. It just goes to show, socializing didn't stop, no matter what room you were in. So, the crucial point is, walking down Curites Street was visually overwhelming. As an ancient pedestrian, your senses would just be bombarded. You'd pass through the Heracles Gate, cleverly designed to block chariot traffic, looking up at those Nemean lion skins. You'd see the towering 2-story Trajan fountain, showcasing the emperor literally standing on a globe.
You'd marvel at the Corinthian elegance of Hadrian's temple with its protective Medusa reliefs, and you'd even walk right past the Octagon, a unique tomb widely believed to hold the remains of Arsinoe, the murdered sister of Cleopatra. Every single inch of the street was a massive display of wealth and power.
Section 4. Lower City, Trade, and Culture. As the street opens up, we reach the absolute epicenter of global trade and culture in Ephesus. 12,000. That number represents 12,000 papyrus scrolls. That was the capacity of the magnificent Celsus Library, built between 114 and 117 AD. But it wasn't just a place of learning. It was actually commissioned by a man named Aquila as a monumental, breathtaking tomb for his father, the governor of the Asian province Tiberius Julius Celsus. Imagine having a world-class library as your headstone. The facade of that library is completely legendary, decorated with statues representing 4 guiding virtues: wisdom, virtue, destiny, and knowledge. Just standing in that square, you would feel the intellectual weight of the city. And right next to it is the Messias Mithridates Gate. What's wonderful about this gate is that it was built by 2 freed slaves to thank Emperor Augustus for their freedom. Walk through those 3 massive arches, and you'd instantly be swallowed by the noise and total chaos of the sprawling trade agora. Just a short walk from that market, resting against the slopes of Panya'irdao Mountain, is the Great Theater. 25,000 seats. Just try to wrap your mind around that scale for a second. This was an arena of extremes. It's where the massive crowd roared during brutal gladiator fights, and it's exactly where St. Paul stood to preach, nearly inciting a riot among the local silversmiths who made their living selling pagan statues. It was the absolute, undeniable heart of Ephesian public life. And if you exited that theater, you'd step right onto the Arcadian, or Liman Kadesi. I want you to paint this picture in your mind. A majestic avenue, 530 meters long and 11 meters wide, flanked by towering columns leading straight to the bustling harbor. At night, this entire stretch was brilliantly illuminated by a network of torches, which was an incredibly rare luxury in the ancient world. Down this path, sailors would pass the vast theater gymnasium, the massive marble Serapis Temple, and Mary's Church, a profoundly historical site where, in 431 AD, the Christian Council officially declared Mary Theotokos, the Mother of God. Section 5. Sacred Areas and Surroundings. That declaration at Mary's Church perfectly sets us up to zoom out from the dense city center. Ephesus wasn't just a commercial hub. It was a magnetic center for faith that evolved across centuries. We see how Ephesus drew global faiths one after another. You had the pagan Temple of Artemis, literally a wonder of the ancient world, famously burnt down by an arsonist craving infamy in 356 BC. Then Christianity took root, leading Emperor Justinian to build a massive basilica over the Apostle John's tomb. Up on the mountain, you have the House of the Virgin Mary, a deeply revered pilgrimage site. On another slope lies the Cave of the Seven Sleepers, sacred in both Christian and Islamic traditions. And bringing us into a later era, the stunning 1375 AD Isa Bey Mosque stands as an Islamic architectural masterpiece. The spiritual gravity of this entire region is simply undeniable. Section 6. Discoveries and Invaluable Artifacts. Now, all of this begs a massive question. If this city was eventually swallowed by silt and abandoned, how do we actually know all of this today? Well, let's move to and see how this builds, because it's thanks to a relentless century-long archaeological relay race. It starts in 1869 when J.T. Wood remarkably struck the foundations of the Artemis Temple under 6 meters of mud. Then the Austrians, like Bendorf and Heberty, stepped in to systematically map the city. Fast forward to Hermann Vetters in the 70s and 80s, he's the one who meticulously unearthed those luxurious terrace houses and actually re-raised the Celsus Library facade piece by piece. And recently, Sabine Ledstatter modernized the whole operation with bio and geoarchaeology. Plus, we absolutely can't forget the vital contributions of Turkish experts like Koloman and Baumer, alongside pioneers like Hogarth, Kiel, Miltner, Karwizi, and Krinzinger. I mean, it literally took an army of brilliant minds to raise this city out of the dirt. And what physical treasures did they pull from the earth? We have the breathtaking, great and beautiful Artemis statues, covered in intricate bee and animal reliefs. We have the delicate Eros figurines that decorated the water features in the terrace houses. They found vibrant frescoes of Socrates, the original virtue statues of the Celsus Library, massive reliefs celebrating the Parthian War, and some of the earliest electrum coins ever minted, pulled right from the Artemisium. Even the marble theater masks and gladiator grave markers survive today. It gives us this deeply tactile, emotional connection to the real people who walked those very streets. Which leaves us with this final thought. Ephesus was a titan. It was a 250,000 strong, technologically advanced, culturally dominant megacity.
And yet, the slow, silent accumulation of river silt in its harbor eventually brought the entire metropolis to its knees, wiping it from the active map of the Earth for centuries. It really makes you wonder, as we look at our own sprawling modern skylines today, what subtle forces of nature are at work right now, and what exactly is going to remain of our megacities thousands of years from now? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning and keep learning.